You're listening to a DM podcast.
Welcome to Over the Back Fence. I'm Di Edwards.
I'm Nicola Dale, and we're buddies of nearly 4 decades. And yes, we actually do happen to share a back fence.
We do. We love parties, people, inspirational stories, and honestly, making the most out of life.
So join us as we open our hearts, share our stories, and hear from some of the most inspirational people in the world, and have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Coming up now
Is Deb Coffey. You're going to absolutely love her.
She's just a light that turns
style
on.
queen.
Probably a light that she's bloody designed.
Yeah, true. What
a-
hasn't she designed?
Seriously, and honestly, Nicola, in those days when she was like deputy editor of Vogue, she worked with the Australian Magazine, one of my favourites. You know, Sun-Herald, Sunday Telegraph. She was really like, she was a mover and shaker with style in Australia. And now, of course, she's interior design.
And she flips houses. I think she's flipped about 10 houses. But with all that, it's like one of the takeaways with that too is that she's like her attitude. It's like if you flip a house and you move just down the street, all of a sudden you're in a new place and you see something with fresh eyes. So she just had a really great thread of a positive attitude all the way through. You know,
very succinct with her interior advice. Things like, I don't know, sheer curtains and making a house
tips.
warmer, and small rooms put in a large dining room table to make it look larger. Like, I don't know.
Amazing,
she's brilliant.
amazing.
Yeah, you'll love her. And she's
love her.
she's just great value.
Fun, relaxed, a lot of fun.
And when it comes to age, oh my God, watch out.
Yeah, watch out.
Yeah,
world.
watch out.
She's another one just starting out in her 60s.
I hope you enjoy it as much as we did.
We loved it. Enjoy.
Ciao. Here we are again.
Here we are. I love this, and another Monday.
Back in the Elle studio home. We love it here the most. And we just happen to have a guest with us today.
Yeehaw.
We're going to welcome an amazing woman, someone I've admired for a long time, Deb Coffey, to Over the Back Fence. Welcome.
Hey.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Deb.
Looking forward to this.
You've had a bloody remarkable career, Deb. Honestly, I was sort of reading the bio and going, really? Who does that in a little tiny lifetime? Only Deb. She's had a remarkable career within the world of fashion, lifestyles and interiors. Deb spent many, 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 many years helping all of us to navigate style through many a publication such as the Sun-Herald, the Sunday Telegraph, Elle Magazine, Cosmopolitan, one of my faves, the Australian Magazine, slicker as I love that mag, Vogue, just to name a few.
Just to name a few.
Yeah. And now Deb, I really do believe, is living out her true passion. She's now renovated over 10 houses personally, and has a stunning interior store called Manyara in Sydney, where she guides all those budding renovators into a world of beauty. So,
That's right.
Deb, after all of that,
I'm tired.
welcome.
Welcome
bet
to
you
the
are.
back fence. That is so impressive,
Yeah,
Deb.
it's
Really,
true.
you are the style queen. When we're lucky to have the style queen here.
It's funny because I used to not like change, and I'm one of those people that if you say you can't do something, I'll go, oh yes you can. And I kind of figured out one day, you know what, change is good, and every time, even when you change your home, you actually have another street to live in. You meet new people. The way you drive everywhere is different, and kind of it's rewiring your brain constantly.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it like that before.
Is so
And it does.
true.
It's like
I've never heard that angle.
It's
No,
like a new
neither have I.
adventure. And between our last houses, my husband Ross is very long suffering because he puts up with the renovations, and he's actually very good at it. We moved into the city, and that was so much
So
fun.
that was a
and
temporary thing while
yeah,
you
it
were
was
renovating.
temporary, and we
Yeah.
thought, well, we might even stay in the city if we like it, but we didn't like it enough to stay at this point.
But it was a nice change of pace.
It's a great change of pace, and you just change gear with your brain.
Wow, you know what? I really understand that too, because it's like, say, when you go away for a weekend or you go somewhere,
Yeah.
it's great to get that new environment. But when that's a really positive spin to flipping houses, or if you're in that interim period and
Yeah,
you can enjoy
yeah.
somewhere new. Wow.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's really important. You should do things that are tangible because we all need rewards.
Yes.
You know, we're like little puppies at heart. And if you do something, you want to see results. And you should always reward yourself. So if we flip a house and we get a great profit on it, we'll always like buy a new car or we'll go on an amazing holiday. And that kind of takes the edge off all the pain that you go through. But with us, it's not pain anymore because it's kind of become part of our life and part of who we are, really. And it's a challenge.
It's actually your new identity. Like taking it back. Let's take it back.
Let's go back to the early days there. So how did it all start for you? Did you just was you a cadet journo back from from school days and you got a cadetship?
Yeah, I was one of the last cadets ever with the Herald. And it was just I kind of didn't really click in until I was 27, and one day I thought, if I don't get a title soon, I'll be on the scrap heap. It was the weirdest thing. And then that was when I was offered the job I was a staff writer on the Herald.
Yes.
And then I was offered a job to basically be in competition to the Herald, go to the Sunday Telly, and I just loved it. I loved working for Murdoch and News Limited. It was a wonderful experience.
Any experiences with Rupert?
Oh,
personally?
I thought he was the most charismatic man I'd ever met in my life. He was wonderful. Absolutely.
In what way?
He had an incredible charisma. The only disappointing thing was that I kind of always like to say what I think. And he said, how's it all going? And Peter Blunden, who was the editor, and I was the deputy editor, and we had a round table like we're sitting at now, a phone on the wall, about 2 or 3 staff, and then they had sent us to London to meet the editor of the Sunday Times, and he had this big glass desk with just 21 commissioning editors, not to mention all the other staff. And so we were like, are you kidding me? Look what we've got. And so when Rupert said, how's it going? I said, it's great, Mr. Murdoch. I said, we've got a round table phone on the wall and no staff, but we'll get the magazine out. It'll look just like the Sunday Times.
And we're talking about the Australian Magazine.
The Australian Magazine. And then he said, oh, that's what I love about you Aussies. You really know how to work.
And Deb, you were really in the days too with newspapers and magazines. That's where we got all our information from. Now it's like, and that was such a big deal.
We're talking no social media.
And there was a lot of money around. And there were events coming out of your ears. And once I got into being an editor, and you've got to really...
And you were the editor of...
Elle.
And also you were...
Well, I was the deputy editor of Vogue.
But
mainly
of Vogue
when I was at Elle.
That's a huge position.
You've got to go...
Incredible.
You've got to go to... like 3 events a night to all your advertisers, and it was exhausting. But then I had to go to Paris to the shows. It was really hard. That was tough. That wasn't bad.
So you physically went to shows. Now they just see them online.
And were you single back in these days?
No, I was married.
I was married.
She's been with Ross for
122
years.
Since I was 19, so I won't say how many years.
Yeah.
Very long suffering. He's a good boy, but he
and your husband's photographer.
He's a photographer.
And he was quite famous too.
And at one point, when I was on the Sun-Herald and he was working for News Limited before I went there, we were in competition with a lot of things, and so there was no pillow talk. He'd be going on a job or going interstate, and I wouldn't even say, where are you going? We just got into the habit of just not discussing work at all. Cool. And even now, half the time I forget to say, oh, actually, who are you shooting now? Because
That's healthy, really healthy boundaries.
So did you meet on the job?
No.
Oh,
well,
okay.
Please. This is the most boring story you'll ever hear. We grew up in the same street.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Well, they say marry from your own tribe, so hey, it's kind of maybe there's something to it.
And
incredible.
All these years later.
Yeah. But it's good she's also had a partner in crime through it all, as in...
Well, he understands the industry. You know,
of course.
And it still crosses over. He still does, shots for us for Manyara when we need to have some decent shots done of jobs or of what we've got in the store.
I'm dying to delve into the interiors because I know that is your passion. But just sort of touching base again back to when you decided it was time to have a child. And tell us about that. Who you were working with?
Well,
and in those days, it wasn't easy to go, hey, I'm pregnant, I can keep working, doing whatever.
Well, actually, we sort of thought about it. I think when I had the job at the Sun-Herald one night, we just said, look, let's start trying for a baby. And literally the next day, I was offered the job on the Sunday Telly.
Next day she's pregnant.
Literally. And then I'm not kidding. When we then decided again, when I was at the Sunday Telly, I thought, look, kind of thought you should have a baby before you're 30. And then I was offered the job to do the Australian Magazine. So I said, oh, well, there goes that one. And then the third time it happened, when I decided, we thought, okay, this is it. got to try and have a baby now. And then literally the next week, I was offered the job as editor. And so I just thought, this is really...
That's a huge position.
It was 3 times in a row, and I thought, obviously I'm
loved Elle.
not meant to have a baby now. No. Got to wait. And then I think I'd been there for quite a few years, and people like Helen, our friend Helen Warren, would give me like a magnet saying, oops, I forgot to have a baby.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, I started to think, maybe I'd better get on with this. And then when I fell pregnant, they'd had a lot of pregnant editors. I was at ACP at the time, which is our media now. And, I just thought it was really hard.
It's tough.
It's tough on your employees too.
Yeah.
Or employers. Because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I remember when the art director had a baby, it cost me a fortune to replace her.
Yeah.
And then the new person doesn't know what to do and they make mistakes. And I could sort of see why they were kind of a bit
Lovely
funny.
she sees both angles, because a lot of people don't.
And I kind of thought, look, it's probably time and I can go back. And I just... For your first baby, you've kind of got to be
how many children do you have, Deb?
2.
Yes. So you've got a daughter?
Yes, I got a daughter, Madeline, who is an interior architect who's obviously incredibly talented.
Where did she get that from?
Yeah, exactly.
And but she's very cool. She's a naturally cool, gorgeous girl. And then my son, Daniel, he's just finished uni, and he's very interesting because he's interested in life and everything around him. And he's actually working, or has been, his uni job was, or is still, at Royal North Shore Private as a theatre assistant. And he sees every operation known to mankind, and he'll come home, and if I'm lifting up some heavy marble table at the shop, and he'll go, don't do that, Mum. You should see what they do to you during back surgery.
That's great. But tell me, with when you had Madeline, like how soon after did you go back to work?
I didn't really plan anything. I just thought I'll see how it goes. But I was getting kind of a bit crazy after about the 4th month. I think Ross came home one day and I said, you wouldn't believe what was on the television today. And I started saying, on Oprah they had this fascinating story. And then I said something else and he looked at me as if, you've gone insane. I think you better go back to work. And then literally a couple of days later,
so good.
It was actually that night, Nancy Pilcher rang and said, look, would you like to do some consulting work for
night.
Vogue? It was that night that he said,
hold the line, Nancy, I've got Oprah on television.
Yes, I just thought, it's synchronicity. Things happen when they're meant to happen.
And so did you just thrive going back to work? Because not every woman's that way.
It's a great question because a lot of people, women can't
go, I never knew that I'd feel this way
guilt,
and I never want to
go
back.
I never had guilt. Never.
I love your honesty with
Not
that.
for a second.
And this is also when you think 30 years ago when it wasn't as easy for women to get the access for childcare like it is now. And it's a bit more of a
Madeline,
stigma
I had my parents helped for a little while, and then I had sort of different nannies, and then I ended up with one girl, Nikki, who was incredible with Madeline, and
you trusted her,
and I trusted her with my life, and they adored each other. And if I wanted to get Madeline to do anything else, I'm going to tell Nikki, and don't tell Nikki, because Nikki was so firm with her, but loving, and she didn't really go to daycare till she was about 4.5. But whereas Daniel, who was a crazy boy, needed to go because they love it, they thrive on it.
Yeah,
and how's it changed so much now? Sort of back to those days too, in women and fashion and style, and to compare to what it is now. Is there body shape difference? How is it different sort of from back when you started in the fashion and magazines, what you see from a woman's point of view, to how we're presented now?
I don't think it's changed an awful lot, but then you've got people like Lizzo who are being embraced by everybody. And I think that's a great thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, she's more plus size.
More plus size, and there's plus size models.
More acceptable,
I mean, even when I was in the industry, I just thought, really, that dress would look so much better if that model had breasts, because women have breasts. Yeah. And then often designers would do their samples back then. So they were meant for embryos. They weren't meant for real women.
14-year-olds sort of modelling these sort of women fashion or Chanel suits, you sort of think that doesn't always look right, does it?
No.
When they're so young.
You can't relate to it.
No.
It's
and it's not that age, don't have the money. We're the ones with the money to buy things like that, because we'll invest in beautiful pieces. But
it's funny, because Wendy Heather, my sister, as you remember those days,
her. She was amazing.
Very much. But I remember her, at one stage I was helping run her shop in Double Bay, and I do remember the majority of sizes that we sold was 14. In my brain, right, because I'd never been in the fashion industry, all the sampling was in 8. right? So the models, the photography, everything was that. And I could never correlate in my brain, why do we do that when the majority of the stuff we sell is 14 or 16? How do they relate? Or is it a dream in one's mind, I can look like that person who's a size 8?
Or you just prefer,
it.
you don't want to look at a beauty ad with someone with bad skin. You want the dream of looking at that celebrity who's been airbrushed within an inch of her life. And if you saw her in real life, she would not have skin like that. But I don't care. I just want to buy the dream.
Yeah, wow.
Call me vacuous.
And was that all happening back then, the airbrushing and the whitening of the teeth and the whole thing in the early days?
It wasn't quite as easy to do as it is now, because the airbrushing now, it's photoshopping and you can do anything. Whereas there it was... Yeah, I can remember whenever we'd get it, I'd run a celebrity cover and I had Claudia Schiffer and she actually had a moustache and I was like, she's not perfect, amazing.
Made my day.
Made my day. I love that. Yeah, so
close to perfect.
Yeah, she's close to perfect and still gorgeous.
Yeah.
And what about reading magazines online? How do you, I love to
no,
I was at the hairdressers yesterday.
No.
My girlfriend Janie was there and she was, hi Dad, and she was holding a magazine like it was the Holy Bible. And I'm going, let go. And we're like fighting over it. And I went, a magazine.
Well, I think...
As rare as hen's teeth.
That's true. You just don't see them even in a hairdressing salon. You don't even see them.
like
because
they-
everyone's on their phone.
No, they stopped on COVID. That's what happened.
Oh, okay,
During
that's
COVID,
was
they
it,
stopped.
really?
And then a lot of them haven't gone back to it. But I take, when I go to the hairdresser now, I take 2 magazines with me. And I'll always love magazines.
I do. You love
I
reading
love a
magazine,
magazine. And I love a Vanity
but it's-
Fair.
it's-
Turn the pages.
Turn the pages.
You know, it takes you away. It's just on a journey.
And to me, it's a holiday thing too.
And also
If
it's
you're going to
bigger.
be you pick up a few
That's
magazines.
so
Don't you think so? And away we go.
Yep, it's
I used to be, with the airlines with Qantas, and we used to have all the best magazines. And
Take
then,
a few home.
Yeah, and
There's nothing in
to fall
planes
into
now.
my handbag. I don't know how that
How
ever
did
happened.
how did that get there?
Yeah, so it's just
No, but it's a
changed.
little bit like
none now.
the cinema. You know how
Very
when
few.
videos and DVDs came out and then the whole cinema industry died, and now people are back into enjoying it. And it's the same with online. I think people, I hate shopping online because 9 times out of 10, whatever I get, it's not what I wanted. It doesn't fit.
I
The
love
quality's not there, and I'd much prefer to shop. I'm a touch and feel
So do
person,
I,
but I think it's the same. It's like now everyone's come back to going to the cinema, and people are probably embracing shopping more once they get.
I like the comparison there. I get that.
And then the same with
That's a good
magazines.
analogy.
It'll be
Yeah.
the same because it'll be
It's experiential.
It's more of a
Like-
treat. You
Yeah.
can keep things. You can't. You
Yeah, I
lose
get
things.
that.
You see something online and then it's gone. You can't find it. Whereas, and even trying to read something small, it's not the same as having a really
What about
beautiful
you?
chunky
No, I still
magazine.
You're a
feel
shopper, aren't you?
You know,
You
you're
like
talking
to
to the
shop.
wrong
I shop,
person.
but I still buy
do both.
some, say if I'm going out to some glamour events or something like that, I normally buy them online. But for other clothes, shirts and things like this,
you
I'll
go shopping.
But you wouldn't be hard to fit though.
so-
You'd be
No,
pretty
exactly.
stock standard.
That's
You'd
true
be a
with
good
me. With them.
Well, I sort of, if you know this, if I sort of know the brand, I know that brand, I'd fit
Yeah.
that size, so I sort of kind of guess it, and it's normally, if it doesn't work, then you can send it back. It might cost
Exactly.
me- I think it's great to sort of have the variety, really, of both.
So good and bad of all those years in the media.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it was in the very beginning, it was so sexist. Unbelievably.
Oh, that's interesting.
Very
too.
sexist in a funny way.
Because when are we
I mean,
talking, the 80s, 90s?
End of the 80s and
so
90s.
80s,
And and also you had a lot more freedom. People would say you're on deadline for a story. They literally scream at you, where is that effing story? And you're trying to type out, 2,000 words. And now they couldn't do that because that would be
Not at
bullying.
all.
Tell them to
Yeah,
shut
they
the-
can't say
anything.
now.
You can't say anything
You
now.
can't look someone
And it was-
sideways
No, you
without
can't. No,
And
you
it-
can't.
reported.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
I
God, a
think
different
probably,
world.
I kind of often say what I think to. I mean, I'll just say no, I'll come up with some blunt response, and they'll say, "Why don't you say what you really think?" And I said, no. And then I thought about it one day. I thought that's what I got from being a journalist, because you just say what you think. You don't have time to mince your words, and it kind of gives you this confidence to just say what the facts are, and that's
what
it.
a great thing I think that's such a good skill, because I think sort of when we've been interviewing a lot of women of our age group too, a lot of always sort of said it's taken till we've got to this age to actually say how they feel, because they just wouldn't, wouldn't speak up or wouldn't say it. Where that's been a great thing for you, Deb, and would have been sort of from those early days of being in more of a male-dominated workforce there, and you're under the pump and under a deadline. So you just have to stand up for yourself if you're going to survive, and you'd say it. And how did you go with raising a family and working? Was it sort of as the kids growing up, like,
Look, it wasn't hard because I have a really supportive husband who adores his children, and it was always half. And from the day we were married, I said to him, look, I really don't want to cook or iron. And I cooked a few things and burnt it.
But I heard a rumour that you like to clean.
I love cleaning, yes.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
But
Where did that come from?
I love cleaning.
Nicola and I are like, well,
I do love cleaning.
Yes,
some people like it, some people don't. I just have
it's relaxing, I guess.
I find it relaxing. I love gardening.
Put the music on, or just in your own.
I
just do it.
Yeah, twice a year.
Well, I don't like. I had a very messy mother.
I need to ask Deb over more.
That's right.
No doubt.
Yes. Oh, there you go. See, Deb said she had a very messy mother.
And that made me not like
interesting.
Mess. Yeah. Not like mess. It drove me nuts.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And what star sign are you? We're always
Taurian.
Yeah,
Taurian.
Taurus.
Okay.
Yeah, the bull.
Yeah. So that's why I got out of being stubborn, because
I
I thought
I'd ask you. I mean, how wonderful you've been married. Since what? How many years? 30.
No, we just don't go there.
We don't go there. So many
I was
years.
about to say,
I've lost count.
We want to know the secret, because congratulations for having a long-term marriage, because not that many marriages always last the distance.
A lot of fights with couples are over money, and in the very beginning, because I've always loved shopping, and I remember Ross would say, "Oh, how much was that? How much was that?" And I said, "Look, let's just start where we want to finish here. I don't want you to ever ask how much anything costs, because I don't want to have to lie to you, okay?" And from that minute on...
Wow, that's a goodie.
That's good. You're a straight shooter then.
And he's never...
He's respected.
Even
Now
to this
repeat
day.
that again. Girls, we all need to recite that.
So...
Yeah.
Don't ask me how much it costs, because I don't want to have to lie to you, because
That's
you know that they're not going to
always going to say,
understand.
it was on sale and I got 20% off, and then I got 50 off.
I've had that in the wardrobe for ages.
Is that you?
The other good advice, which women really respond to, when they say, "Oh no, my husband will kill me if I buy that," and I say, "Yeah, but really, you know what? So what? He's going to yell at you, might yell for an hour. That'll be the end of it, and then you've got it forever." So just put up with the yelling, and then it's done.
If life could be that simple, Deb, my God, like seriously.
I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Just put up for that small little bit of pain and long-term gain.
I've got a little birdie that went into my ear, and another question from Helen. She said to me, "Ask Deb, what's her favourite shade of black?"
So
Any shade.
I just love.
Any shade.
I wonder what she's going to walk in.
Black.
She's wearing black.
Chic
But I
as
did
always.
laugh. I thought, and it's sort of, it's your signature look, or it's just what you adore.
Yeah,
Like,
for years I was into baby pink. Like soft pink. I had even our sheets at home were baby pink, towels, everything. Ross still has a lot of pale pink
perfect
shirts.
for Barbie.
Yes, perfect for Barbie. But I don't know. I think once I wore a black outfit that I absolutely loved, and every time I wore it, everyone said, "Gee, you look good in that." And then I thought, "Oh, and I bought another black outfit." And then I just got to the point where I just absolutely love black. Yeah. And I'll
so
go
you've
into a
been-
store.
How,
and I'll
how
just
many
pick
years
up-
are we talking? Like black's been black in your world?
Probably since I was 35.
Isn't that
Wow, that's
incredible?
amazing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
remarkable.
And it's just such a great colour. And occasionally I'll add
Like
maybe
a pop
I'll
colour or
I'll
something?
lash out with some navy blue.
Yeah.
wow,
I'll be really game. But I occasionally buy things, but then I just never feel right in it.
And what
know
about
it is.
tips for women in fashion? Like, black is sort of, I'd say
but
a
I mean,
must too, but is there
it's
anything else that you'd say?
Oh, look, it just
suggest, or-
depends. But I think what you do is invest in good pieces, and you'll always have them. I mean, see this jacket here? This is a Yoshimoto that is, Ross bought it for me as a present when I was pregnant with Daniel.
Did you tell Ross
so
to
it's
buy it?
24.
See, that's an investment piece.
24 years, and it's still perfect. And
but
the
you
fabric
looked
is
after
amazing.
it. That's the difference. It hasn't got any renovation dust on it, has it?
Nothing.
What
no.
that's true, isn't
I'll
it?
clean that off, don't worry.
And what other
That's
pieces,
so
what do you think,
funny.
say in your wardrobe, to get if you're going to go out and get a couple of investment pieces, is it a jacket, is it a pair of pants,
Always
is it
jackets.
a skirt or jackets?
Yeah,
Wow.
really good tapered pants. So pants that are flattering, you have your big baggy pants, but the most flattering are when they kind of hug your thigh a little bit and then flare out, because
Yes.
that's slimming.
Yep.
And then a nipped-in jacket. is always good.
When you say nipped in,
Then
so it's pulled in at the waist.
Waisted. Yeah,
right.
if it can have a little bit of a waist.
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful baggy jackets are fine, but for longevity,
Yes.
yeah. I suppose someone like Camilla and Mark always do beautiful shaped jackets.
I still want to know the longevity tips on your marriage because I'm very impressed.
Well, I was just lucky, I suppose.
He was very lucky, wasn't he?
She loves to clean. Any man would do.
She's beautiful and
Never has to worry
blue-eyed.
about it.
Yeah.
And then,
That's lovely, isn't it? 19, because you're different. You're still a girl, really, at 19.
Oh,
you
you're a
think of all the
baby.
different stages
How many other
of your
boyfriends
life.
did you have before Rossa Rooney?
Oh,
Not
few
telling
surfy
you.
boys, that was it. And then he was Mr. Straighty 180, but
Wow.
anyway, but he was just so sweet.
He's beautiful.
Lovely. He's
Yeah.
a lovely guy, and he's the best father. So,
And
and
you
it's
know-
important, girls. I think
Yes.
sometimes you got to when you meet someone. I often say to girls, like, "Oh, I just don't know. Do you think he'd be a good father if you suddenly became terminally ill? Would he look after you?"
Yeah.
That's the first two things I say, and then a couple of times they've said, "Oh, I don't think so." And I thought, "Well, pick up your bag and run, sweetie,
Yes.
and make sure they love their mother." And he
Yeah.
adored his mother.
Yeah.
And that's
Who said that? That's so
no, I
lovely.
don't know. I just
Deb's-
well,
these are
it's
tips
true.
from
It's
Deb.
really beautiful.
I
So
really
make sure they love their
Men,
mother.
if they don't,
support you
if they
on
have
that.
mother
I'm
issues,
all about that.
Yeah.
no, if they have mother issues, they'll have issues with you. They generally do. That's what I've found. Because often when girls are splitting up and he was never this to me, never that, and I said, well, what was his relationship like with his
I've
mother?
never heard that before.
I've
It's
heard. I
interesting.
think that's a
Wow.
really great thing.
But it makes sense. It really does, because there's also an element of respect for women too. Ultimately, like, and that's
Well, what a
That's
great
so
partnership
important.
You've
Yeah,
got.
it's so
Yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
and lovely for your
Guided
kids
you through
to
it
see
all.
that. And now with houses and flipping houses. And
so your passion. You went from how did you make that break from the media to?
I went into PR for a few years. I had a PR company called Hush Communications, and
That was huge. By the way.
that was
Business.
and who
a
were
lot
you?
of work.
Who were your brands there?
Oh, everyone from
who wasn't probably
David Jones,
yeah.
Country Road,
Wow.
Fairfax and Roberts. We
Biggest
just did
names in
so many.
Australia.
Joyco Hair Care. We just did some for years.
Yeah.
And,
You were
and
the
a lot of projects.
You were the one to use. I remember.
And-
you got to go to Hush.
Yeah, but then I got to the point. It's not with PR. You're often disappointed because you're at the mercy of magazines, and then when it got to the point where all the bloggers started, and then you'd want them, they were important, so they had to come to an event, and then they'd want 50,000 to turn up. And I just thought, this girl can't even string two words together. I'm out of here. And I was sort of kind of over it, and I was doing a lot of renovating and helping people, and I don't know. It was
You
like a
knew.
star from heaven came because Manyara came up for sale.
And this
the
is
girl
an
who
interiors
owns
shop.
Yeah, and she rang and said, "Do you know anyone who'd like to buy my business?" And I went, "Yes, that would be me." And then when I hung up, I thought, "Gee, that was great."
Were you still with
negotiations.
Hush at that stage?
Yes,
Or,
yes,
wow, that's
yeah.
the big transition.
I love how you just
Yes.
were so definite
Yep.
about that.
I know.
That's
You
just,
your
isn't it?
intuition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it
It
telling
It is.
me?
You've got to listen. That's the other
Yes.
thing. Always listen to your gut.
You've got so many
Yes.
wise
Yeah.
tips of
Always.
advice there,
You're a
Deb.
wise
But
old
journalism does that to you because the thing is, you've got to be a chameleon. You might be interviewing a street sweeper one day and the Prime Minister the next. And so you have to adjust all the time and listen to nuances. And a lot of people don't listen or read between the lines. And so it helps you, kind of gives you a bit of wisdom because you're always analysing people and you've got like an hour to meet someone, interview them, and then write 2,000 words on them and get it right. And so you have to think really fast, and then you just become super observant. I always say to people, they say, "Oh, how did you notice that?" And I say, "I would notice if you had a back tooth kept."
Yeah,
you know,
you
it's-
don't miss a trick.
I don't
yeah.
miss
And I like
anything.
it
And
too
it's-
when
And
you
that's
have-
great for interiors.
Isn't it?
too.
Yeah. And also when you are a journalist and you have to write those pieces and you're under a real time frame too, that you have to get that down.
very
that you have
stressful.
no time really
It's
to sort of
true.
like go, shall I write it this way or that way? It's
No,
bang.
you just
so
do
it's
it.
with
You
your
just do it.
decision.
And it makes you a lot faster at doing things
Yeah.
for the rest of your life, basically.
That's
That
the
box,
understatement
move
with
on,
you.
Especially
move on,
when
move
on a daily newspaper. And then I used to think, I'd love to just retire to a monthly,
Would you like
Yes,
to write
that's
a
great.
book? You know? Would you like to-
I have got the title. It's Arseholes I Have Known. There's a lot of them.
Wow. wow.
So many bad people.
That is- oh
Because
my
I often tell
gosh.
stories about
But it'd
people
be
and
great
everyone
'cause
says,
it'd be
Tell-
funny.
tell
Why
us-
don't
tell
it'd be
us a few.
great.
This is great.
Yeah.
really
It's life.
difficult people.
They're on every street
Yeah.
corner.
Very
Yeah.
difficult people.
Yeah.
I think in life you just have to be, if you're always open, things come to you.
I
the
agree
minute
with
you
that.
close things off,
Yeah.
they go away. And the minute you become open and you become positive, and I'm not positive all the time. I have to remind myself.
You could be an asshole too.
Probably. Try not to be.
On that subject, what do you do? What do you do to try and make yourself feel positive? Or if you're feeling sort of like, overwhelmed.
Have a gin and tonic.
That solves a lot of things.
Yeah, love
or
that.
do you meditate? Or what do you do to get your mind
Go
back
shopping.
Go shopping.
That's my meditation.
great.
Yeah,
No, I just
what
have.
do you do?
I would just have a gin and tonic. Or if you've ever got sort of issues with anything, just talk to a friend. Just
community.
Yeah.
just
talk to a friend.
talk to your friends. Just
Yeah.
or get it out or whatever. But generally, I think if you're too busy, you don't have time to have issues because you're too. I always sort of see
you're
people
always busy.
that have a lot of hang-ups and this, and I feel like, and I always say to them, go to the spinal unit at Royal North Shore Hospital and see someone who's paralysed.
Yeah.
You will realise how indulgent
you
are
Yeah.
being. Stop it.
Yeah.
And then they often snap out of it.
Deb, I couldn't agree with you more too. Sometimes it's sort of being, without being corny, but grateful for what you've got.
Oh,
And you have to put things in
yeah.
perspective. So the problems that you've got, and when you think of real
And it is all
problems-
relative.
Put it into
It
perspective.
does.
Yeah.
It is relative. You kind
You're
of.
caught up in that.
Yeah,
you're
but I love
like in a
your- I
world.
really
But you have
love
to
your
remind
attitude.
yourself
Yeah.
that you are incredibly lucky and privileged to be where you are, that you're healthy, that you've got great children, you've got a great partner, you've got great friends.
Don't lose sight of
and
that.
so many people don't have that.
Yeah.
Been
So
there.
let's head back to Manyara. Like you bought that incredible interior shop that just came up.
I
'cause
came
you
up,
were open.
yeah, and
so to speak.
I was just so excited, and the other thing is don't look back in life because people say, "Oh, don't you miss
Just
past?"
gonna
No,
say, and you never look
Yeah.
back.
never
No,
look
There
back.
you
no.
go.
And even
Okay, this is
changing
now.
houses, they say, "Oh, don't you miss that house?" I say, "Oh, certain things, but I don't think about it because I'm on to the next."
Yeah.
And you just keep
Go,
And
go.
what's the
keep
point
moving
of keeping
forward.
on looking back on the past
No.
when you can't change it?
You want to be
know?
a Freud follower or a Jung follower?
Yeah,
Jung,
there you go.
just look. What's the point of regurgitating anything? You just go forward, and that's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I
Be
think we have to
present.
keep
Or be
on-
present.
Not rocket science.
I
Be
think
present
simple.
with
I
it
think we
rather
have to
than
keep
going
on
back.
reminding ourselves that too. If you're sort of thinking, oh no, I'm back on this
I
track
think it was-
again, which we all can get to sometimes.
Yeah, what was it? Was it Eleanor Roosevelt? If you live for today, the past and the future take care of themselves. And that's
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
true,
It's
isn't it?
I
another
agree.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one. So interiors,
Yes. So
your love.
Yep, it's wonderful.
And you-
it's and just the best part of it is once you've helped someone with the house, and you might start with doing a sofa, then you'll get the chairs, then you'll put artwork up, and then you'll go down the hall and do something else there and put a console. And then by the time you've finished, they're so happy. They go, I just love my lounge and I just love that dining table you made me. And they just get so excited because, they might not have thought to do it in that way at all if they'd just gone shopping by themselves, and they might have got the sizes all incorrect. And that's the thing, a lot of people don't realise. They think they can do it, but then they get the proportions all wrong. The rug might be too small, or the table's not the right size, not big enough or not small enough. And even when people are selling, they always do this wrong thing of doing a table. If it's a small room and they think, I've got to have a small table and, 2 or 3 chairs. And you go, no, we're going to squeeze the biggest table we can possibly get and put 8 chairs, and that room will instantly look bigger.
Isn't that
It's
remarkable?
amazing.
And
Yeah.
they don't
Think about
understand
that
that
for a
until
minute.
you, and then you
This
show them
tiny
and they go, oh
room,
my gosh.
She puts a
you're
bigger
right.
table in
Yeah.
with a whole lot of chairs and it looks bigger.
Yeah.
I love that advice.
Yeah, it's great advice.
Well, I sold a house once. It was a big house, but it had, in proportion, the lounge room was tiny. And I had that jam-packed. I had a 3-metre sofa. I had 2 2-metre sofas. I had a big ottoman. I had other chairs. So when people walked in, your brain subconsciously goes, let's sit 14 people there. It's not a small room anymore.
That's
Simple.
how's that?
And not one person said that there was a problem with that lounge room, that it was small. And when all that furniture came out of it, it looked small.
But tell us about sheer curtains.
Yes, my great love.
Another Deb signature.
I mean, they're so, especially if you've got a modern house.
So what do they do to, you were saying it changes the room. How does a sheer curtain change a room?
Because if you've got very hard lines and then you put shears, and even if they're not even pulled across, if they're just at the end, they soften
right.
the
Like a
whole
frame,
feel.
or?
Yeah, like framing a painting.
Right.
Even if you have a beautiful artwork and it's just on a stretched canvas, it will always look so much better if you just put a shadow box frame around it. It instantly looks more expensive, more chic. It's
That's a good
just
tip,
got
isn't it?
Troy, Yeah. Long have they got? What about like
To the ground.
But to the ground and not.
No light
sometimes
can
you see
come
them-
through. No. It's got to have, I say, just a smidgen of a puddle because you don't want to see light coming under the curtain. That looks cheap.
And on the subject of lighting's so important,
Oh,
isn't it? So what do
no
you say?
overheads.
Okay.
No,
yes,
you
it's
can put a
downlight, or is
beautiful.
it
What do you
like
mean?
lamps
No,
or-
no
lamps?
downlights.
Yes.
No downlights. They're so unflattering.
So you're
It's also-
you're doing
I'm a
lamps.
lamp queen as
God,
well.
you sound like my
Same thing
sister
too,
Wendy.
all
She's a lamp
lamps,
girl.
Yeah, it's all.
I think one house I
lighting.
had 18 sets of lamps.
Wow.
in one
And what
house.
about candles?
Oh yes,
You love
of course.
candles.
Yes, got to have
Especially
candles.
beautiful Trudon French candles. They're stunning.
Deb, did you buy for Cadbury's rugs at one stage? I think there was something with Florence.
Broadhurst.
Tell us
Oh,
about
yeah,
that.
Did you ever
this
see
is-
her
I
work?
loved. Qantas
yeah.
used to have her in the kits too, and they'd have her fabrics from there. Just so beautiful.
Oh, okay. Cadbury's launched the rug collection,
Yeah.
and I was doing PR for them at the time. They were
Okay.
one of my clients when I had
Yeah.
Hush. And I remember reading, we were sort of doing her story before we did the launch, and I was just fascinated. I thought she didn't start creating wallpaper with her designs until she was 67 years
So
old.
there we
Isn't
go.
that
For everyone to
inspirational?
hear.
And I
Yeah.
just thought, how
Yeah. So
So when
amazing
people
is
think you're
that?
too old for things,
No,
I mean,
never.
what a role
And she
model.
just went, I'll start now. Why not?
That blew me away. I knew
Yeah.
she was older,
Yeah.
but when I read that because of you, Deb, and I
Yeah.
thought that's so
She
inspiring.
was inspiring.
Like
She was a
Louise
great
Hay
character.
didn't really start till she was in her late 60s.
Yes.
She's another
That's
one.
true.
So I think
So
just
never
think for
give
women,
up.
What do you
Yeah.
think? Say
I actually
for our-
interviewed Louise Hayes once.
Did
I
you
Yeah,
really?
she was
Wow.
gorgeous.
That's
it was
incredible.
when
We
she
love
did her
her.
first book. I think I reviewed it, and she was just wonderful.
She's changed the
So-
world a lot for so many people
So
too.
as far as
Illnesses.
aging goes, what's your take on that these days?
I don't like getting older. I must have to be honest. I
What's
just
the
think.
aches and pains or
Oh,
the
no, just sometimes you look at me.
I
and
can
think,
say that because I've got new right hips.
damn.
I'm the one that's cracked up.
nobody wants to get older, and I think if you stand still, you will age. You have
that's
to
a
be
good-
busy.
See, I love that
you.
about
So
Deb.
you
have
Keep
to.
busy.
Well, there's also that
going.
that anecdote I've got about the nuns. I think they're in Sardinia, and
Yes.
they always look at these centurions, and they were fascinated at how they were lasting that long, and that they didn't seem to have Alzheimer's. And then I think when one of the nuns died, they did an autopsy, and they said, "Oh, did she have dementia or whatever?" And they said, "No, she was fine." And they said, "Well, her brain looked as if she had complete Alzheimer's. She had lots of scarring. She had everything.
But she didn't show it.
She didn't show
Yeah,
it."
that's
And then
fascinating.
they said to this group of nuns, "Look, do you mind if we look at your brains when you die?" Just for medical science, because we're fascinated. We're trying to work out this whole aging thing. And what they discovered was they think, and they were all the same. They all had all the plaque and all everything happening, and they said it's because they were so busy and they were engaging with people, and they're probably opening new pathways, because if you keep doing new things, then it's like the book, The Brain That Changes Itself. It's fascinating. You've got to read it.
So try new things,
Yeah,
whether you
definitely.
walk
That's
a
why they
different
say.
way,
Walk
drive a different way, buy.
I even coming
a
back to
different
when
shop.
she was saying about move house,
Wow.
new street, new people,
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
cafes,
Well,
new whatever,
That's
something
very
fresh.
good. We better get to our
Yeah.
signature questions with you
Oh,
because we'll
yes.
just talk forever and ever.
We
and I wish
would.
we
Oh, your
could.
signature
We would.
question. Okay, you go first,
try.
Nicola.
Okay, we'll talk with age. Then, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self, Deb?
Speaking of age, I love that.
Back when you were 20. I think you were 19 when you met your hubby.
I don't know. I think I would have probably get rid of people that aren't decent people out of your life. I think what you've got to do is, people have friends for years that they're just not good friends. They're not truly their friends. And I think you've got to, if I had the knowledge, the wherewithal to know that person's not so nice.
When you
And
were 20.
When I was 20, yeah.
Let them
You
slip
get
away
Let them
naturally.
slip
Ah,
away.
yeah.
Whereas I think when you're older, you do.
Yes,
you think,
definitely.
I don't have
It's a
time for
typical
this.
people-pleasing
Yep.
thing, isn't it? I think it
Yes.
comes to so many, which we've sort of got for so
Yeah.
many people have
Yeah.
that, because you're too sort of frightened then to even sort of say, no,
It's
you
true.
can't do this, or you can't come to that party. There's
Yeah.
more than 100 people. At
Yeah,
the party,
always.
wouldn't
Yeah.
we? You
Everybody.
Whereas
Yeah.
some of them
Yeah.
mightn't have had that right intention with you.
Exactly.
So that's a
And that's
wow.
a gift with age, isn't it? To be,
Yeah.
to pick and choose. Say, look, like nature, some things organically die and fold away, and then beautiful fresh garden. And there's ones that come along that
Room
are
for
just
the new,
beautiful
isn't it?
oak
Out
trees
with the old, in
that
with
are
the new.
solid. They're
Nothing
like
wrong
this
with
one
that.
in my life, you know.
Actually, the other thing too would be to always think, should I do this or do that? Because I don't want any regrets. And I think sometimes I wish I'd done a bit more for my father when I was so busy working, and I never thought that he was going to die. And then I think, if only I'd just taken a month off work and looked after him, and I just didn't think he was at that stage. And so, yeah.
But he probably appreciated the fact that you were so busy and working.
Yeah, I mean, I was still there, but I should have actually said, I'm not
the
working.
old should haves.
Yeah, the old should haves. And then when you know someone needs help, don't think of yourself all the time. You get more endorphins and everything from helping than receiving.
Definitely.
It's a medical fact that you do.
So what's
beautiful.
Well,
what about the back
question?
fence one?
This is a groovy one. If you had a choice of anyone in the world, anybody, alive or dead, to meet over the back fence, down at the back fence,
to meet,
who would that be?
Share a back fence
with? Who would that be? Who would you want to experience that with?
Probably the Dalai Lama, to get his wisdom and forgiveness. Yeah, because I'm not very forgiving. I'd like to know how to forgive people.
Yeah.
And someone was telling me about, he was on a plane one day and this baby just kept screaming, and he just went up and picked the baby up and just said, and they must have known it was the Dalai Lama and let him, and he just walked up the aisle and the baby just went to sleep. Because he would have so much
amazing.
And
he's apparently got a great sense of humour too. Humour.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and have a cup. We'll already have a cup of tea actually with him. We're not having a wine with him.
Tea. I think he might have a little sneaky little
he probably
or something. I don't know.
He might even enjoy a gin and tonic. You never know.
I think he could too.
I hope so.
And just back to that full circle, the G and T, solves a lot of problems there, Deb. Sorry.
So true.
Not too many.
Thank you so much for coming on today. You really have just so beautiful. You've had the most incredible life, and there's so much more ahead. And I just love your attitude.
Yeah.
And
gratitude too.
And just gems of wisdom.
Beautiful.
Really, you're just a beautiful soul. So thank you so much.
That's great.
And
thank
everyone,
you.
Thank you for listening.
Often you don't think about those things until someone asks you the questions.
Yeah. And so much ahead of you too, I believe so.
So thanks for everyone listening. And
I want to go shopping for interiors now, for sheer curtains actually. So back next Monday.
Can't wait.
We can't wait to have everyone on board one more time to Over the Back Fence.
Well, thank you for listening, everybody. And don't forget to rate and review. And how many stars, Dodie?
This week, why not 10 out of 5?
10 out of 5, okay. I reckon reach for the stars, but thanks for listening, and don't forget to follow us.
Yes. That's so important. If you love the podcast, follow. Really appreciate it, and look forward to chatting with you soon.